Final segment of the show this morning, we're talking to Ms. LWynn, and the topic is the African American female. And of course, Ms. Wynn, before we had our second break, you were giving us sort of a survey of the important roles played by women in various centuries in a real sense. And I think that we have been really impressed by the role that they've played. And I think that we know all of these women, but we very seldom have an opportunity to put them all together into one kind of sequence, and I think that you're doing an excellent job for us in doing that. Let us allow you over the last 6 minutes that we have to continue that, and then we can draw this show to an end for the day.
Okay, well, we were talking about Tennessee and women gaining the right to vote. You cannot leave out Tennessee in the suffrage movement, because in 1920, Tennessee became the pivotal 36th state for the women gaining the right to vote. And even here in Tennessee, you had two women who stand out, in particular, J. Frankie Pierce and Dr. Mattie Coleman. They were very prominent in the women's suffrage movement here in Tennessee. And, you know, as we move on toward the rest of the 20th century, when we look at, say, what became the modern civil rights movement, J. Frankie Pierce led a march downtown to protest some educational issues prior to us doing it in the 60s.
And prior to the civil rights movement.
Prior to the civil rights movement going up. So, you know, again, we were proactive, and again, it dealt with community. When you deal with the 20th century, and you can look at women like Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks took a very proactive stance when she refused to give up her seat on that Montgomery bus. Certainly you can look at a woman like Ella Baker. Ella Baker was primarily known for her work with SNCC, and she was the inspiration behind it, but she also was a field secretary for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored Women, and she had been involved in protest movements, if you will, in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s. You can look at here again in Nashville, Diane Nash. Usually when we talk about the civil rights movement, I think Diane Nash is an unsung heroine of that movement, because if it had not been for her leadership, once CORE dropped the Freedom Ride, it was Diane Nash's idea to pick it up and continue it. She felt as if we lost that part of the movement, then the movement would have ceased. So we need to give her credit for the roles that she played during that particular time.
You know, let me, and what I'd like to do is to introduce this as an idea here before we end it for today, and have you to make some kind of response to that. I think in view of the fact that we find that many African American females, as over against African American males, are receiving education in institutions of higher education. And one reason we say that is because we know that you're involved in an institution of higher education, and perhaps in your own class you find that the African American females probably outnumber considerably, in many instances, the African American male, which means that things do look better for the African American female in the future. Why don't you say something in terms of where African American females now stand on this new threshold?
I think as we approach the new millennium, which is becoming a very trite term now, that African American females will continue to be in the forefront. I mean, they have any number of role models, if you will, that have gone on before them. They will be active on the social sphere. They will be active in politics. They will be active, I think, on the economic phase, because that is one of the phases that I don't think has been completed with that civil rights plank. So they will continue to be there. I think they're going to make headway for the race and for America in general. We are fast becoming a very multi-dimensional, multicultural society, and I think that they will be in the forefront of forming coalition politics with other groups as we continue to press forward toward the new century.
You know, I think some people have said that in a real sense, the African American female now is emerging to play in other areas of society, economic, political areas, the role that for the longest she has played in the church. Now, not certainly as a minister or as a pastor or whatever, but primarily as a support part of the African American church, and she's played a crucial role in that.
She's played a crucial role there, and I think, you know, you can look at people like Carol Mosley Brom or Maxine Waters on the national level, or Lois DeBerry here in Tennessee, who Speaker Pro Tem. She will be very active in the role of politics.
And so she will continue to play the role that many of us that she has always played.
She will continue to play the role that she always has played.
Okay, but many of us have not recognized
that. But you have not recognized.
And many of us who are historians ourselves are surprised to hear some of the information that you give us relative to the African American female, Ms. Wynn. And I think that was one of the justifications for this show. That is to have a very, very prominent African American female who has historical background to come and to talk to us about the subject, the African American female. And I think that you've given us an excellent portrayal of her activities with the names and whatnot, and people who understand that and can read that will have a fairly good idea of the role that the African American female has played. And I certainly want to thank you for coming by and giving us that excellent information, and to, over the last 10 or 15 seconds that we have, not only to thank you, but to encourage our audience to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. To thank you and to say to you, have what? A good morning. And thank you, Ms. Wynn, for coming by and giving us that
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you. Thank you.